Alright guys, this is your boy Lego One Half Enduro. Back at it again with another video. This one is done a special request by Triple M who asked a question. Now, Young Yi is not a person I care for or give a damn about, other than, wish he's healthy, which he's good. I don't wish bad health to nobody, but I don't follow his videos because it just, let's just say it's not something I like doing. So, but it is. But Trip wanted to know. So he said, third-party devs are frustrated with Nintendo Switch and Nintendo and Nintendo Switch 2. I want to hear what he says. Now, just because you got a part in Yakuza and everything, and good for you, you got I'm not against that you got a part in there. Some people say you were a pain in the ass to work with, but that's not me. I'm not working with you, so I don't know. Well, I always say this, and funny enough too, to be a side note, somebody posted a comment. Let's see if they respond. I posted a comment on one of my video with the young lady saying, "I don't know what I'm talking about," and then you disagree with me. Okay, well, tell me what you commenters, help me out here. Give me a full photograph of what you're trying to say so I can understand. Because here's the funny part. Remember a while ago, they had people who said they didn't comment on my videos and had a problem with it. I said, hey, all right, let's have a one-on-one. I said, you saw the videos. Let's have a one-on-one. Let's have a conversation. Nobody has responded. Nobody. So it's kind of weird that y'all say y'all talk shit, but then you don't back up your shit. Let's have a conversation. I can't, you can't tell me you disagree without not, I don't do that to other content YouTubers. If I say something that I'm going to say, I state why I say. I don't just say I don't disagree. That's half-assed, and then yet, that is the point, I don't want your view. So, whatever. But let's go into this one. Third parties are frustrated with Nintendo. I want to hear this. And Trip was like, I don't know if, do I need to know what he's going? Maybe not, Trip, but I'll do it for you anyway, my brother. Let's see.
So one of the great promises of the Nintendo Switch 2 is the ability to take your games on the go. And that especially concerns Nintendo Switch 1 games because the Switch 2 is backwards compatible that have been upgraded to take advantage of the Nintendo Switch 2's hardware, or brand new games that, previously weren't able to be ported over to the Switch 1 or be made for the Switch 1 that can be made on the Nintendo Switch 2 because of its added power and processing prowess. But that's an area where Nintendo seemingly, it's been hit or miss with a number of third-party entities speaking out about how frustrating it's been to actually get a Nintendo Switch 2 development unit, including apparently AAA companies and publishers and development studios. So this information...
Okay, you know what? No. Let's hear him out. I was going to say something, but let me hear what he's going to report. Let me hear what Yang Ye is going to report on.
Comes from Digital Foundry. They recently did episode number 228 of their Direct Weekly podcast, where they talked about, the performance of the Nintendo Switch 2 for upcoming games like Elden Ring and Final Fantasy VII Remake, essentially ports that actually do take advantage of that hardware. But also they just talked about the state of third-party games on the Nintendo Switch 2 in general, and how, speaking to developers at Gamescom, many have felt that Nintendo just hasn't done themselves any favor by how restrictive they've been when it comes to distributing Nintendo Switch 2 development units. New Salad IGN transcribed what Digital Foundry said in that podcast, and it's really interesting to hear because,
does this look like your internet provider?
Because, third party is an important part of any ecosystem, while Nintendo consoles mainly...
I'll give you that. It's important. Not needed, but it's important. I don't need you because from since 64, they have that. And people are like, the third party's been on the consoles again. Only now Madden came back to the Switch, which not many people are going to buy Madden. So EA put themselves in a shithole with that one. Oh, wow, Madden's back. After 2012, you didn't put a game on our console from since then. So the people who are there for that game is not there for the game. And of course, they don't want that. They're stupid. The usual, EA bullcrap of buying cards and games and nah, I'm not down with that. But it is important, yes, because again, the Nintendo third party games that I bought is like from Marvelous, from Falcom, from Square. I give that Capcom. So yeah, I bought those games, so they are important. I'm not gonna deny that. And then of course indies.
Sell because of those first party games that you can only play on Nintendo consoles and Nintendo games. For all of Nintendo's flaws, their games, they rarely miss. Their games are always stellar and developed with an incredible amount of passion and consideration and artistic flair and creativity. But
That's what you buy the console for. PlayStation was that at a time. Xbox was that at a time too. X 360 era. That there was that. But we don't care. But they show now that they don't care no more. So okay. So what I do is, unlike other YouTubers, they don't want to they don't want to make exclusive for the PlayStation and the Xbox no more. And again, I have a PlayStation 5. Well, I'm just going to buy it. So why don't people just do the exact same thing? Please, Nintendo's not doing what they think Nintendo should do. Don't buy it.
those third-party games people also look forward to, especially the idea of taking them on the go. And so
Depending on the third
seeing
party.
that a lot of developers can't upgrade their games or make their games on the Switch 2, that's really unfortunate. And I have noticed
I disagree with that.
when I looked at games that have been upgraded to the Nintendo Switch 2 or, received a patch that takes advantage of the Switch 2, that is not as kind of well paced as I thought it'd be. I thought, a bunch of games would immediately have Switch 2 versions or have a patch that can take advantage of the Switch 2.
Are we talking about the same third party who basically send out a game that's broken and then patch it later, and sometimes they don't patch it? Are you talking about the same third parties, sir? Really? Okay.
But that rollout has been slower than expected. There's certain
That's
games that
not
I'm
a third
like,
party.
I wish this could be at higher frame rate and higher resolution, but are still essentially the Switch 1 version running on the Switch 2. And it seems as though there's a reason as to why that might be happening for certain games and IPs and, games made by specific companies. So right here we have John Lindman from Digital Foundry who said the following. There's been a lot of talk about this lately that Nintendo seems to be almost discouraging Switch 2 development to some degree. I've spoken with plenty of developers where they told me that their game, they should just ship it on Switch 1 and rely on backwards compatibility. That, to me, is wild. Remember when Don Matrick told people, well, if you can't get online
His foot in open mouth, insert foot. Remember when Don Magic said, if you don't want that, blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah. Let me help you out here. Again, Don Matrick. Everybody hates Don Matrick for that, but he told the truth. Again, the PlayStation did the exact same thing Don Matrick said too for the place in 2012. But again, nobody always never want to talk about that. As a company, I have no problem if I was a game developer. The game could play on Switch 2, right? So let me just make a Switch 1 Pro. You also the cartridges, oh, well, we don't want to play the key cards, but people's forcing you out to get physical. Again, I'm buying Shadow Labyrinth for the Switch 1, not the Switch 2. I'm buying certain games for the Switch 1 to play my Switch 2 because it is for that reason. Why can't I do that?
activity on Xbox One, because once upon a time before it launched, it was supposed to be an online-only device. Just get an Xbox 360. Or when Nintendo itself said, well, if you can't get a Switch 2, just, get a Switch 1, which is never like the right kind of message to send when there are certain kinds of complaints about why those devices are inaccessible. Nintendo...
Not really. Again, I said I'm the one that's weirdo here. Okay, I'm the bad guy because I had a problem with what Don Matrick said, and what Don Matrick said was true. Again, PlayStation did it as well. Nobody want to talk about that. And also, I spoke with the ultimate thing I can speak with is with my wallet. So I didn't buy the Xbox One. Move on. Wow. Don't buy a Switch 1. Don't buy a Switch 2. Why that? My puzzlement is why people are so, it's so hard for them to not to buy this device. Like, I don't wish Xbox to fail. I don't wish Sony to fail. That's the difference about me and these videos. These people want Nintendo to fail, so they're, oh, they're going to feel like the aha moment. No. I want Xbox to keep on going. I want PlayStation to keep on going. I want Steam to keep on going. That's why I say my face at the end of every video. But if they're not going to cater to something that I would like as a customer, then I don't buy it. I just did a live just a while ago. Not yesterday, I should say. We got the video going to come up tomorrow. But yesterday, excuse me, where I talk about stuff. Now, again, I got to shout out to YouTube. YouTube, you screw me over. I really don't care about algorithms and all that stuff and thing. But I had 25 people watching me doing a live yesterday morning when I was driving in. And then YouTube, when I go into the analytics and stuff like that, it shows that. But in the video analytics, like the whole, you go to that, it shows only 9 people watch the video. I was like, wait. I know what I saw. How the heck, what's going on here? And people was commenting and stuff, and all the comments that you guys put on there is gone. They took them off. And then I know you guys wasn't cursing or nothing. So what's going on here? Anyway.
So it's doing the developer version of that by saying, well, if you can't make your games on the Switch 2 because we can't or are unwilling to provide you a development unit, just make your games on the Switch 1. But the hot new thing is the Nintendo Switch 2, and by granting developers...
Yeah, I'm gonna hear this part here. I'm gracefully, I'm bowing right now with my hands closed. And I'll tell you this. All right, shut the fuck up. The reason I say that because the hottest new thing is Switch 2, and you can't get them. And then the next thing is to be what? They ask for the key cards. That's what everybody don't understand. Most third party ask for the key cards because they didn't want to pay for physical. That's the part that people don't tell you. They didn't want to pay physical. They don't want their physical. They do not want a physical stuff in the first place. They want it digital. And again, you could go digital if you want. But again, I will blame Nintendo for this. Stop listening to third parties and do your shit. How much time do you got to get stabbed in the back multiple times? Stop listening to them and forget them. Do your shit. Put your games on a cartridge like you're doing. I like that. Work with any third parties that work between the past very well. I give Capcom somewhat of a grace. Square, somewhat of a grace because they're like the smaller games, the RPG games is that. I get that. Marvelous, help them out. Falcom, help them out. Any other Team Cherry, help them out. Like those are the people you should help, Nintendo. I'll tell you that. EA, Ubisoft, fuck them. All right, do that.
The Switch 2 version, they can make both the Switch 1 version, which has a huge install base, and also for Switch 2 owners, they can make the best version of the game that runs with the best performance and graphics and resolution.
They don't do it, so why bother? That's the problem I'm trying to say. They don't. They use Nintendo as an afterthought. They've been doing that since the Wii. So, it is what it is.
Given that Nintendo Switch 2 is currently selling really well, and developers want to take advantage of both Switch 1 users and Switch 2 users, and have Switch users have the best version of the game. Lindemann continues, there's a lot of developers that are unable to get Switch 2 dev kits. We talked to a lot of developers at Gamescom this year, and so many of them said the same things. They want to ship on the Nintendo Switch 2. They would love to do Switch 2.
I gotta know who the developers are. That's all I'm saying. Because some majority of them ain't worth a salt, piss in the pot. And two, if you, like you said, how come there's some people who develop games for the Switch, they still develop game for the Switch because it has a big library, and they're like, hey, and they do what I said at the beginning, put a tag that said, and it will work with Switch 2, and it's selling. You think Silk Song was set up for Switch 2? No, it was set up for Switch 1. And you could play on Switch 2. they play a good game. That's how it works. Jeez.
versions. They just can't get the hardware. It's really difficult right now. And Nintendo's lack of transparency on that front hasn't helped. A lot of developers are still in the dark as to why they haven't received a Switch 2 development kit.
Easily because y'all are pieces of shit third party. It's so funny when Nintendo when I say third parties are bad, people get, oh, you crazy Nintendo, whatever. But then when y'all say AAA gaming needs help, it's the same fucking developers I'm talking about. What the hell? See how stupid that is.
And why others have been receiving Switch 2 development kits who, you know, aren't maybe as big in the gaming scene or aren't making games that are as... And not to say that smaller developers don't deserve a chance to make games for the Switch 2. In fact, Nintendo has distributed Switch 2 development kits to smaller devs. But it's just baffling when some of the bigger devs are like, we're eager to make their...
Because we don't... Yeah, you're half-ass shitty way like you always do. But literally, Star Wars Outlaw, they could have used physical. They would have to re-render the engine to work better for the Switch. They didn't do that. They went for just put it on there. Let's get a couple hundreds of sales and make a little money because they don't care. They never really did care.
Party games for you, games that, you know, people know and love as far as IP is concerned, or that could really attract a lot of attention to the possibility of taking these kinds of games on the go.
Not really. The one game I will say that will help most would be 6. And here's the thing, I'm not asking for Grand Theft Auto 6. I am not. But Grand Theft Auto 6 will benefit as well. The Nintendo will benefit the most from that. I'm not going to even say GTA will just get more money. Rockstar will get more money, or Nintendo will benefit more from that. I'll say that. Nintendo will be the more beneficiary or whatever. That's the only one I can see out there to jump and do all the stuff there. There's not many third-party games out there that make me like look at like from the mainstream people. Like, oh, Call of Duty? Not really. It lost its luster for me a long time ago. And just, But the new Battlefield's coming out. Whoopee. Again, don't care.
More high profile, and you know, prioritizing things like the camera campfire game called Chillin' by Fire. Like, I've never heard of this game, and it's cool that this game exists, but the prioritization of development studios who make
Thank you. That's what you see. You don't see, I see it. I would choose this people over Ubisoft. Why? Because at least they're going to make their game work on the Switch way better than Ubisoft, whatever, trying to make it their stupid ass game work on our console. So yeah, that's how you give third. That's how you do it. I observe you, Mr. Yi. Nintendo's doing the right thing to me. Forget EA and all them other shits. Give it to people who are gonna put their game, who are passionate in the game. Campfire is not a game for me, but people like there are a lot of people who love Code's game after COVID came out. So I'm cool with that.
Like these that are very just like understated and certainly not system sellers, and not making development kits available to more developers who can bring more prominent titles to the forefront. It's just a really baffling decision that
I mean, hell, look at Borderlands 4. It's running like trash on computer. Whoopee is on the Wii Switch 2. I was never going to buy it. I never cared for it when I saw they say that, oh, you got me. Never cared for it. Never. Never. Nope.
Full Switch 2's ability to gain more traction as far as it being a machine that players can feel safe in knowing that third-party titles are coming to it and they can play a lot of those games on it and, you know, at full capacity with the Switch 2 hardware being taken advantage of. Oliver McKenzie from Digital Foundry spoke to this by saying, I don't really know what Nintendo's mindset was with these sets of decisions as far as who gets Switch 2 development kits and who don't is concerned. I don't really understand the strategy because, like you said, even now developers are struggling to get systems. And I know that some months ago, when we were hearing things through the grapevine and talking to people, there were some weird exclusions with some big developers struggling to get kits for games. And I don't know, maybe back then one could have argued that it was probably because Nintendo was afraid of leaks and whatever, even though the Switch 2 had already leaked. It was like one of the most leaked Nintendo systems. It might very well have been the most leaked Nintendo system, new Nintendo system of all time. But, you know, I get why they were a little picky about stuff like that back then. But now the console's out, right? And to hear that developers are still struggling to get Nintendo Switch 2 development kits when the console's out, we know everything about it. And, I mean, it's taken off and selling really well. And now's the time to really drive that momentum forward.
Not really. Don't care. No, we don't care.
It's just bizarre to hear. Mackenzie continues, from what we have heard, there were some weird inclusions as well. Some indies were included, which is nice to see, but there's that campfire game, you know, the campfire game, and they're getting kits. And some big developers, on the other hand, who develop AAA stuff, aren't necessarily in the pipeline there for kits. And yeah, I mean, so far...
Good. I'll say it again. Ain't these the same people who say AAA is done? They don't sell songs, big AAA game has been shitty, blah, blah, blah. So Nintendo's like, yeah, we're not giving you the AAA because you've been doing us wrong. Oh, Nintendo's a bad person because they don't want to give the gifts. Like, see? Double speak.
While I wouldn't say that third-party support for the Switch 2 is non-existent, I'm surprised that certain games haven't been announced to be ported over already, and it might have to do in large part with them just straight up not being able to because they don't have development kits that allow them to develop titles for the Switch 2 and really ensure that it's a polished experience on that specific hardware. So yeah, some big hype.
Sorry, I'm eating my daily fruits in the morning. I apologize for that. A polish. Nintendo gave EA the Wii U, give a lot of developers the Wii U early. Did they make polish third-party games on the Wii U? No. Some of them didn't even make none. So that was a waste. And you said polish. That means you got to code right. That means you got to take your time and give the best results. And they don't. So, yay for Nintendo.
Profile development studios are surprised that, you know, this kind of unknown game chilling by the fire gets a development kit, but some of those more high profile companies who can deliver some of the more high profile games just still haven't been able to
deliver broken trash. I'm good.
Get their hands on a development kit. It is really bizarre, as Mackenzie highlights here, saying there's weird stuff about discouraging Switch 2 development explicitly for some games, a limited subset of games, like if you're doing a pixel art game at 240p, you probably don't need a Switch 2 kit. But there are very few games on the Nintendo Switch 1 that wouldn't benefit from being ported explicitly to the Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah, I mean, there's certain games that are just very low profile as far as graphics and performance is concerned, and it doesn't make that much of a difference if you were to make a Switch 2 version of that title. But there are plenty of games that could greatly benefit from that high resolution and that high...
See, that's what the difference, you just point out the difference between other people and the gaming. Yeah, I have no problem. Oh, crap, did I not bring my water bottle? Dang it. The point, you just proved my point right there in that regard there. See, you think these kind of games are bad, these small indie games and stuff like that. You just said that, hey, let it have it for people, let people have something. Oh no, we don't need that. Okay. All right. You got that, but they do not optimize for the console. They barely optimize the console, while indies optimize for the console. So maybe that's why they went there. We don't care about having the best graphics and all that shit. I mean, look at that new Yoshi game that come out. They look like Studio Ghibli style of art. We go for art style. How many times I've said in the videos, Nintendo fans go for more art style than that realistic graphical whatever. Do we watch some games that's visually stunning, like real polygon and all that stuff? Yeah, once in a while if they do it the right way, but it's the art style for me. That's how it works for me.
Performance, and one of the promises of the Switch 2 is that it's backwards compatible And, you can take old games and kind of breathe new life to them through that enhancement that takes advantage of Switch 2 hardware. But that just hasn't been the case. It's been very specific games that have gotten those kinds of upgrades. And even then, those upgrade paths, some of them offer them for free, others charge for that stuff. And it just hasn't been as prominent of a feature as I would have liked, given that was a major appeal of the Switch 2. While it's still kind of working on its library of games, with the games slowly rolling out from first party and third party alike, I was expecting.
Slowly, again, please tell me what first party, how much we got. I know there's 9 games, but we got some that's third party. So let's go exclusive. Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong, another new, what's coming out for the rest of this year? Oh, that. Kirby Air Riders, that's 3. Another Nintendo one I'm trying to figure out. I can't say Metroid, because Metroid has 1 and 2. So that's 3. And what I'm saying, this is going to be sad too. The sad thing about it is that I at this point right now I could do 3. I think there's 4, but I think I could do about 3. When the PlayStation released 4 exclusive, first party exclusives, Astro Boy was that, and Astro Boy might go towards PC, but Astro Boy was that. That was it. Xbox, there's no such thing. So, Then you're throwing in the games that could be on that could run on the Switch and the Switch One, which would be then you add in the Metroid, Mario Galaxy 1+2, Hyrule Warriors. I think Hyrule Warriors is a 2 exclusive. I think that's the 4th game I was looking at. Hyrule Warriors is gonna be the 4th exclusive just for the Switch. You have Pokemon ZX today, whatever it is, A to Z, that's on 1 and 2. Yeah. You gotta tell me the PlayStation equivalent, sir, and you gotta play an Xbox equivalent as well. That's all. That's all the way that this argument you just pulled makes sense to me.
At least that to be the ideal device to replace your Switch 1 because you get a better experience on the Switch 2. And look, there's certain games that already have sort of unlocked frame rate and already seeing improved performance on the Nintendo Switch 2 when you run them on the Switch 2, even without any updates. But the resolutions are still the same, and there's still room for enhancements and very kind of intentional, specific kind of porting over and just very specific kind of upgrading that you can do that would make those experiences ideal. But it's just been a really slow rollout on that front. Mackenzie continues, the thing that's really stuck to me too is at this point, we've seen very few proper Switch 2 editions post-launch. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of bizarre that, the existence of Switch 2 editions of old games is it's been a lot more minimal than expected. I don't think we've seen any, hardly at all, really, from third-party developers in particular.
Exactly.
I think Square Enix is working on some like Switch 2 edition stuff, and I've seen 1 or 2, but very few overall as far as like old titles being brought into Switch 2 and kind of being fully taken advantage of as far as the hardware prowess is concerned. Obviously, we saw No Man's Sky, I think 1 or 2 other games in the mix there, but really, it's been a very slow trickle of titles earning that Switch 2 edition badge. I really want to see more movement on that front. I hope it's a temporary thing. I hope that in a year or 2, we're looking back and we're like, that was a really weird decision, but it was fixed in time. I hope that's what we're looking at. And I hope so too, because right now, Switch 2 is on too good of a roll for Nintendo to botch this aspect, given that it's such a huge draw for the Nintendo Switch 2 as a sequel console that is backwards compatible, that has a lot of great compatibility between, the previous console and the current console. To see that part kind of just kind of peter out instead of it being something that has a lot of momentum and gets the hype of the Switch 2 going even more than it already is, it's just a really bizarre decision. It just feels like a neglected feature that when it's a marquee feature that should be given a lot of attention. And not to mention, just in general, if you have developers shipping their high-profile games to your console, it's just good for your
That's
console. And so
depending on what's high profile, sir. That's the difference. Star Wars Outlaw was not high profile. It was a trashy game. It had and it was trash on the other consoles and PC, and it's trash on the Switch. What high profile game was that? I mean, let's be serious. Just saying. Trash upon trash. That's what I was.
why Nintendo is so limiting on that front, especially when like they've been able to meet demand for users, for players, for customers. I feel like they can meet demands for developers. It's just Nintendo's being very stingy about and very picky about exactly who gets development kits. When you should be giving those out like candy to developers because they're all eager and really thrilled and excited.
No, should not, because then we're gonna get the horse slap like we got last time, and every time we do that, it bites them in the ass. No, this should be what it is. Be more. No, this should be like, oh. You deserve it, as they did with the camping game, and you said it. Why should? See, this is what I say. The third part, the indies, the way you saying it, Young Ye or whatever it is, that Nintendo should have never gave that, giving these up and coming people. Maybe they could figure out they could do this camping game. Maybe they could do another game, and they could fill in the slots where a third party always drops off and meet assholes. Give them that. That's the way I look at it as. Smart move on that point. That's what it should be. That's the way it should be, in my opinion.
To work and develop games for the Nintendo Switch 2, and you should be fueling that like fire. It's just a really strange strategy, and I really would love to know what Nintendo's thought.
Mass does not mean. See, now you're talking like a consumer. Just put out all kind of garbage. When we know, let's be honest, most gamers want to consume. They don't want to be a customer and pick through the stuff. So yeah, just shovel shit in their mouth. Keep on shoveling, even though it's not good for them. I like this approach. I like this approach. It's much better. I like this approach way more better. Hell, I've been saying this should have been happening a long, long time ago. Nintendo's finally doing it now. So Youngie, your video just made me feel happier. I rather this approach anyway.
Process behind this is because this, like, there's no upside to what's going on here. Why not pull
better games?
Pull all stops on this thing so that the Switch 2 can thrive both on the first party front and the third party front, and it can get
first party is already locked. Third party, I don't know. Indies, let's keep it going. Second party, let's keep it going.
Get just a really great cadence of releases from all fronts. But at the very least, that's one man's take, and it's just a bizarre situation, and third-party devs are speaking out and are a little frustrated that...
And I don't care. And Stephen A. Smith said, listen up, we don't care. We don't care. I don't care. So, nope. Anyway, I wanted to do that video for you. This shout out trip, this UX that you want to know what the video is about, that's the video. So you have that. Remember, guys, enjoy your games on all consoles. Remember, there's no perfect games out there. It's perfect to you, it's not perfect to me. It's perfect to me, it's not perfect to you. Simply enjoy a game on all consoles, including PC and mobile devices. And again, if you have a comment, if you want to comment more longer. One, and two, if you want to comment longer as well, too. I am open-minded enough to have a conversation. We get on Google Chat. We speak on it live so people could see what we're talking about, so there's no whatever, and we talk about it. I don't monetize my channel, so I don't make money off of this shit. YouTube makes all the money off of me talking and doing all this stuff. I just do this for the fun and just get random thoughts out of my mind. Cathartic in a way. So I am not scared of no debate. None. None. Let's talk about it. Let's do it. Let me know. It's basically endure3@gmail.com. Let me know, or say something in the comment section. Say, hey, you ready for a debate? You ready for a debate? Up for a debate, and we can go from there. I am not scared of this stuff, guys. So bring it on. With that said, I hope y'all have a good day. Peace out. Catch y'all later.